Radiance ban.
Hello Dota 2 fans and welcome. This is Chicago Ted coming to you live with the Sudamerican Dota 2 Masters. That's right, today we've got Sad Voids versus Luccini LAN Center. So these guys obviously playing a bunch of games up until this point, never meeting each other just yet, ending up in different parts of the initial upper bracket, but both teams have been sporting a fairly good win rate thus far, though they have both gotten knocked out of the upper bracket. They did very well in their individual groups. Luccini becoming sort of a fan favorite dark horse, I guess you could say, even though they completely stomped their actual group. They were an open qualifier team, so the definition, I guess you could say, of the Cinderella story. But and all in all, they've been putting on a pretty decent performance after their initial knockout of the upper bracket. They've been fighting their way through the lower bracket and handling pretty damn well. So I look forward to seeing how they can do, how they carry on throughout the lower bracket. If they get knocked out here, though, they are down and out for the tournament. So they cannot afford a 2-0 or a 2-1 here. They have to beat Sad Voids, but this is going to be a very difficult matchup for them. Sad Voids, again, also doing very well in their groups, and by and large, the quote-unquote better team, as defined by the, well, them being an invite, while Luccini being the open qualifier. But I can't pass too much judgment just yet, because I haven't seen them face up against each other, and I know they both play some pretty aggressive styles and play very well, very calm, collected, aside from, again, that first series from Luccini. And, well, we'll see how they match up, how they fare against each other right here, right now. So I'll catch you guys up if you've been watching the draft while I was rambling on. If you haven't, well, we started out with a Gyrocopter Leshrac band, so again, some standard stuff, Undying and Quap as well, but we're going to start out immediately with an IO on Luccini. So they're going to go for that, that IO combo, whether it be the Tiny, which is usually the second pick whenever you see an IO come up, or they're just going to go for something a little bit more in the left field. I've seen a variety of different things happen. Things like Necrophos or Storm Spirit that, looking down at it, initially doesn't seem like there's too much synergy there, but there are a lot of different things that IO can, that giving a global relocate as well as that double regeneration, or what seems like double regeneration, to any hero in the laning and further beyond in the game. So we'll have to see where they go from that one. Sad Voids are going to start out with the Earthshaker, though, the all-around completely versatile and really long sought-after support for many different scenarios. Lion is another one of those kind of supports that operates in that way. Vengeful Spirit, a little more niche, but still very flexible. And they're going to go ahead and they're going to find the Phoenix on top of that. So a little bit of a wombo combo coming out already for the Sad Voids, but mostly just a lot of teamfight control. You've got the Fisher, you got the Icarus Dive, plenty of mobility, and plenty of ways to keep the enemy where you want them between slows and stuns, and a hell of a lot of magical damage. They should be able to clean up heroes like Io very quickly, and Shadow Fiend comes out as well, which kind of worries me. Shadow Fiend having a very difficult time against that roaming Earthshaker if he comes mid often and gets, all he needs is one Fisher block. Like one alright Fisher block, and Shadow Fiend is dead to nearly any mid laner. Granted, you don't give him the triple raise combo and feed a kill to him in the process, but Earthshaker will tend to be very mobile again on this map, and putting a lot of pressure on the Shadow Fiend is going to be very interesting to watch. This does sort of count out the idea that this is going to be an IO dual midding with someone, although I wouldn't count it out just yet. I definitely can see the synergy with these two guys, as well as the fact that IO stacking up these camps almost religiously for the Shadow Fiend will accelerate his farm more so than I think any other mid. Maybe Storm Spirit can handle stacks as well as Shadow Fiend, but really Shadow Fiend is that mid that if he's got 2 or 3 stacks in each of his camps by 6 or 7 minutes, then immediately he'll have his item. Like either it's a Yule Scepter, I wouldn't say a BKB, but if you wanted to go for an early one, why not? A Blink, a Mechanism, whatever he decides to go for his first item, he'll have it at that point. And that is one of the things that makes him really, really strong, is finding that amount of gold and very early portions of the game, being able to flash farm very quickly
Dyer's
with his
ban.
raises. So again, this
Dyer's
just means
pick.
that I wouldn't be surprised if he did go mid with the Shadow Fiend. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he just went safe lane with whoever he wanted. So there's things to keep an eye on. They do ban out the Tiny and the Bristleback, 2 carries that would
Radiant's
typically
pick.
pair up with the IO. So those are out of the field. But Witch Doctor and Naga Siren will also be banned out by Luccini. Just more combo, more magic and teamfight control that Luccini don't want to have to deal with. And Sad Voids, they're going to immediately pick themselves up the Viper, which by and large, one of the easiest heroes to play. Time and time again, it's been called out
10
as that,
seconds
but
to go.
not just that, it's the most flexible hero in the game.
Dyer's
Play it in
pick.
the mid, play it in the off lane, play it in the safe lane. It will always be able to turn out good results just because of the amount of pressure that he can put on anyone. If he harasses you, you're in trouble. If you harass him, you're in trouble. If you let him hit level 6, you better not be alone versus him in lane unless you have some way of blinking halfway across the map, or he'll just run you down and he'll kill you. So Viper is going to be difficult to deal with. Bounty Hunter now is going to be difficult to deal with because now you add a second dimension to that where you always got to be careful of where that bounty hunter is post level 6, and it becomes this really tough game to deal with because one bad team fight, one 5-man wipe for them, all that track gold, all of that experience and regular gold will put Sad Voids in a position that's unreachable
10
for
seconds
Luccini.
to
I mean,
go.
they've got the Shadow Fiend. The Dazzle's a really good pickup for this because he'll allow
5
or he'll
seconds.
do his best to keep one guy alive, but it's not one guy they're worried about. It's the entire
Reserve
team with
time.
what Sad Voids have been drafting up here. Viper doesn't have to focus on one guy. Like, sure, when he does, the lower you get, the more damage he does. But if it's become a scenario where it's just an elongated team fight, all he needs to do is hit you once and you're slowed for a good amount of time, so he doesn't need to continue to follow up on you. He just lets his team do their magic, maybe comes in when you're low to continue bursting you down, but he'll switch targets and keep everyone within range of being
Dyer's ban.
bullied throughout the entire team fight. So Luccini are going to go ahead and pick themselves up the clockwork now. Give themselves a strong offlaner, someone who can be very independent, but also give you a lot of potential in team fights. Again, to control the team fight
10
with the
seconds
cogs,
to
the
go.
hook, things like that. So coming up to our final ban,
5 seconds.
Sad Voids are going to start to look towards that either one position, or if they're not running the Shadow Fiend mid,
Reserve
which I
time.
believe they are, throw someone else in the mid. So any hard carry, I guess, would do. Anyone they think would pair with this IO. I wouldn't say a CK would work. I'm not sure. I don't think his illusions hit the egg like Meepo does because his illusions are illusions instead of additional units. But
Radiant's ban.
right now they need something that can benefit from that build. Usually builds attack speed, but also
Dyer's pick.
ends up hitting quickly on his own. Things like Anti-Mage look really well, although I wouldn't exactly put him against a Viper or a Lina now. But okay, so
Radiant's
right now
pick.
what they're going to need is a strong, efficient, and just versatile carry. Things that come to mind, maybe your Juggernaut. Like, right now it's very difficult to pick into this Lina. Viper Lina is an incredibly atrocious combo to have to lane up against. So with the Huskar ban out, as we were talking about, Sad Voids, Luccini will ban themselves the Broodmother, which
10 seconds to go.
I think they've got a lineup that can sort of deal with, but this
5
sort of
seconds.
makes me want to believe that they were going to run a carry that doesn't do well versus the Broodmother. And I don't know,
Reserve
banning out the
time.
Broodmother is always smart. Like, she's never someone you want to play with, but picking right now has got to be so difficult for Luccini. I don't know. I'm putting myself in their shoes, and I couldn't pin down any one hero that I would prioritize. And they're going to go for the Razor, which I think is the right
Dyer's
move.
pick.
A lot of the times this guy falls off to the wayside in terms of what you think about. I know I'm kind of guilty of this, as is apparent right now. But he's a very tanky carry. He's very versatile, and he deals well with heroes that like to point and click stuff at him, which Bounty Hunter and Lina both are. So we're going to head on into this game now. Enough with the draft. Ready for the game. Of course, I'm Chicago Ted, your host for today. This is Luccini versus Sad Voids. Game number 1 of the best of 3 series. This is the lower bracket, round number 2. So if you lose the series, you are out. If you win, well, you have another shot at making it through to the grand finals. It's a long and tough road, but it is possible. So starting out for the lineup for Luccini, it's going to be Cristiano on the Shadow Fiend with Kamuzi on the Io. Atsushi. Oh, yeah, that's right. Atsushi. He is going to be on the Dazzle. Eliadel will be playing the Razor. And the Sword will be on Clockwork. Meanwhile, scouting out, doing a bit of search and destroy. It's going to be Ake on the Bounty Hunter. Bysadro on the Earth Shaker. Scully on the Lena. SVN will be playing the Viper now. And Karuba will be picking up the Phoenix. So, big fiery bird, big fiery gal, and a poison thing. That's the combo to end the ages here. So it looks like they're going to get the rune down bottom. No real contest for the top rune. Kind of surprised, but at the same time, this is kind of usually how things fall out for the early portion of the game. One team gets one bounty, the other team gets the other. Very rarely do we see one team getting both. And I know it's a very outdated stat. I don't know what it is recently. I'd have to ask some of my stats buddies over at St. Dev. But, or standard deviation, I guess, if you're not going by acronym. But it was something like 60% win rate for the team that gets both bounty runes. So obviously we're not going to see that here, but it is very much within the interest of a team not to let both go to the other one. So Aya's going to get the bounty. That means an early bottle for him, which coming out right now. And he will be doing that dual mid we were talking about with the Shadow Fiend. So stacking up camps for his buddy, making sure that once that, again, 7 to 10 minute mark comes around, if he's got 2 or 3 stacks per camp, then you've got a whole lot of gold that's just sitting right for the picking for the Shadow Fiend. Bottom lane, it's going to be a Razor. Pseudo solo, I guess, going up against the Clockwork. I really favor the Razor in this matchup, mostly because the Clockwork can't exactly get close. Oh, wait, no. Never mind. Wrong team. It's the Phoenix. So I'm human too, but I still sort of favor Razor here. You can see exactly why. You can't exactly get close to this Phoenix, to the Razor, and right now Razor's got plus 10 movement speed, so even with boots this Razor's going to be moving faster than the Phoenix, and he might just have to spend Icarus Dive nearly every time if he's not careful. So the Clockwork is going to end up being in the off lane against this tri-lane here. It's the Viper, the Earthshaker, and the Bounty Hunter, I guess, who's going to be more roaming than sitting in this, so mostly a dual lane. But this is what he's got to be careful of. This is a Fisher block. It will catch him, it looks like, just barely. They're not going to capitalize on it this time, but there always is going to be a next time that he's got to be careful of. And, well, we'll keep an eye out for where that Earthshaker's positioning is. It looks like they dewarded up in the jungle. So Sad Void's not worried about Clockwork having a good idea of where their positioning is. Should be able to get that off more often than not, which is a big problem for the Clockwork. Meanwhile, Scully versus Cristiano. Again, this Io is sitting in the dual mid, which means I don't think Cristiano will have too much of a trouble. Normally, Lena wins her lane. Like, there are very few heroes that come to mind that Lena actually loses hard against, or even breaks even against, I would go so far as to say. So Lena should be able to do very well versus the Shadow Fiend, but because it's a duel, she won't actually win it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So Io is going to go ahead and get himself a bounty rune, which, I mean, keep filling the bottle, keep his Shadow Fiend alive. This is exactly what he needs to do, and he's doing it well so far. And you can also see he's getting some good stacks up in the jungle, already a double on both the camps. But the real ticker here is that the Sword, I think he might be a little out of position here. If they go for the block, they might be able to get either a huge amount of damage or force him to go back to base. But in comes N. He's looking dead in the eyes of the Sword, and they're playing sort of a game of chicken right now. The Sword moves forward and goes and meets them, potentially misses a couple of last hits, and the Sword backs up. So they're not committing on this one just yet, but we have to keep an eye for when they do. It could potentially be a kill. Okay, going down bottom. No word to spot him out. Looks like another sort of D ward happening here. And he's going to go and find Kamuzi, who actually abandons his Shadow Fiend in lane, trusting him completely. But this is actually why. Eliadel and Kamuzi are diving the tier 1 tower, at least shallow diving the tier 1 tower, getting a little bit of harass out, and doing a fair bit to force this Phoenix to play it very safe. Meanwhile, the Sword, we saw that there was a little bit of an engagement up top. They went on him briefly, took a bit of damage, but he's got a salve, so he doesn't have to go all the way back to base. And Atsushi is hanging in close by just in case he was in any trouble of dying. So the rotations, the presence of mind for the teams, pretty much meaning 0 kills so far. But we're 3.5 minutes in, by no means too late for a kill. So we could see another couple of minutes pass before we actually see the first split happen. In fact, looking at all of the lanes, it doesn't look like anyone has a particular kill potential that we're overlooking here. I mean, Phoenix with the Icarus dive should be able to get away from most of the aggression on him. Unless he spends it stupidly, he'll always have it to get away. And, I mean, it's not that bad of a cooldown, too. 36 seconds is plenty of time. Just Icarus dive out if they're on you. Go back and heal up for a little bit, or just kind of regen, and then you can go back and try to fish experience out of the lane. As far as the Shadow Fiend versus Lina goes, even though I do like Lina here, and they've got the rotating Earthshaker ready to go if Bysadro can find an opening, but the Dazzle, well, does he have a TP? We'll have to check and see. No, he does not, so he can't rotate right now, but I imagine at his earliest convenience he'll be picking up a teleportation scroll. And if Cristiano is ever in any trouble, he can just TP, get the Shallow Grave off, and then, well, you don't kill the Shadow Fiend at that point. Like, he just walks away, you get a couple of heals on him, maybe a Shadow Wave, and he'll be good, so. So far, though, Shallow Grave is not skilled up, which means that he wouldn't have had it for the Clockwork anyway, which I guess is surprising to say the least, but even though he doesn't have it, he'll have it pretty soon. He's only level 2, but he's in the offlane. He should be able to sap experience sort of efficiently here. I don't think there's any real way they can zone out the Sword or Atsushi with this Earthshaker by Bysadro hanging in so close to the mid lane. But one Fisher is all it's going to take for this Shadow Fiend. And we'll have to see if he can find it. He moves close to the river. You can see he's starting to cast it, but he's getting scared. Pause comes out again. And this is a sort of hold your breath lane. I mean, of course, Cristiano might have an inkling of what's going on, but I'm 90% sure he has no idea where exactly this Earthshaker is. So it's only us that can really tell exactly what's going on 100%. And so this is kind of like, we're holding our breath even though he's probably not sure that he's in any real danger right now. Atsushi, meanwhile, on the top rune. He's going to secure this one. If he doesn't get it, or if he doesn't get it for the Shadow Fiend, at least he'll get it for himself. And you can see Scully is already either turned to the top rune. Maybe he's going to run towards it right now. And if he starts running now, I don't think he gets this rune. But it could be mean a lot of trouble if Earthshaker makes his way up there as well. 8:59. Actually, he might get it. No, Atsushi will go ahead and deny this one. So, a chase. They know where Ake is, but they can't exactly find him with little to no detection to be able to be spent. And so he makes his way in towards mid lane with a Sentry Ward now. This is a very good Sentry Ward. They have every idea of where this Bounty Hunter is. And this is when Cristiano backs himself off and plays very conservatively, at least until he knows that the Bounty Hunter is gone. Which I guess now, sort of the time. I mean, he's hanging out close to the bottom of the river, at least relatively speaking. Oh, hold on. What's this? Scully going in. No level 6 yet, so he can't go for a kill. Doesn't have enough mana to cast anything anyway. And not going to find a kill, but putting a hell of a lot of pressure now on this Shadow Fiend. Oh, man, if Earthshaker had been there by Sadro. Very close to getting a kill there. In fact, they actually could go for it right now. Fisher, level 1, but that's all he needs. No, Scully's going to go down. Cristiano with the dual raises on point there. Finds himself the first blood. What a kill that just happened, and a huge missed opportunity A Fissure would have saved him. A Fissure at any point in that would have been nothing but a win for Sad Void. So holding on to their Fissures and paying for it pretty dearly. And Cristiano, a much needed first blood. 28 last hits at 5.5 minutes, respectable, but by no means unthinkable. And again, he's got 2 stacks in each of his camps. And even though there's no IO continuing to stack him up, it's still a 2 is better than none. Although speaking of IO, Ake could find him. I'm not sure if he can find a kill here, but he sure as hell might try. He goes for 85 damage initially. And, oh, wait, no, Scully's into this one. He's got the Dragon Slave, and that should be enough to pop the already compressed ball of energy. You see a nice, satisfying explosion there. And Sad Voids put themselves up on the board, albeit with a support kill. But it's a kill nonetheless, and they'll be able to put a little bit of gold in their banks because of that. By Sadra, though, trying to make it a second. Ake goes in. There's going to be the initial strike. Lunata hitting for a pretty decent margin, but it's the Fissure that's really putting him in trouble. But here comes Kamuzi healing Eliadel and through everything. And now Karuba in a lot of trouble. One last auto attack is all he needs. He'll get the kill. 2-2. As it looks like Scully will find Cristiano in the mid lane. And that's a Laguna Blade committed for that. So a great kill, couple of kills happening. Unfortunately, they're for either team. And hold on, Eliadel. He wants more. Doesn't see him. No plasma field, but they're trying to get a couple of bits of balls on him. Maybe deal a little damage, but they're not going to be able to find it. And thus, he'll get himself away.
Bottom tower's getting the business.
Meanwhile, the Sword continuing to be pretty aggressive up here. He's sitting with level 5, so no level 6. And, by the way, is level 7. So even though he's doing all right, he's still pretty far behind, getting doubled up by the Vipers. Speaking of levels, though, Eliadel only level 6, Karuba level 6 as well. In fact, we can take a look at the levels individually, and it looks like Scully is who's on top. Eliadel actually might be in a little bit of trouble right now, as he's got his courier coming in. Is there anything that can heal him? No, they've got the Supernova. Can it be enough? He gets right out of range. Oh, man, just barely drops everything 2 sets of salve, heals him up for as much as possible, but it's kind of fruitless, as it'll only heal him up about half anyway. But getting away from that is very important. He gets himself out, and he'll live to fight another day. Pretty weak, but in comes Kamuzi. He'll be able to heal him up for quite a bit. Actually can't tether right out of the gate, which is a bit of a wasted opportunity, as that fountain regen would have been meant a huge amount right here. And actually, it looks like Karuba might be in a little bit of trouble. He doesn't have Icarus dive. He already spent it. He's going to go down here. A couple more right clicks. It's actually going to be the Balls of Fury for Kamuzi. That'll bring him down in the end. But a pretty big kill going their way. And with Icarus dive down, that's a little ambitious for the Phoenix. Scully, though, is going to have a double damage room. He's got Laguna Blade up. In fact, oh no. Atsushi, he's got a teleportation. But wait. They spent the Laguna on that one. 70-second cooldown, I guess, doesn't matter. Up here in the top lane, though, it looks like the Sword will go down. And that'll be courtesy of N. Cristiano rotating himself up here. Kind of fruitless, as he's not able to save his buddy. But getting a couple of bits of last hits for his trouble, I guess, is a Pyrrhic victory at most. By Sadra, though, sapping experience, or getting his solo experience in the mid lane. He's going to be getting close to level 6 very soon. Eliadel making a deal with the devil right now, as he's constantly very low. But it looks like he'll finally get away. Okay, looking for something. I don't think he kills with the Shuriken, even if he
Radiant's bottom tower
was able to get close, which he was not. So makes his way back towards the mid lane. Bottom tower taking some hits, but will be healthy.
Radiant's bottom tower ain't a pretty
coming out of this aggression. Right now. And still in the top lane with a mechanism already completed. Speaking of mechanism, who's going it on Luccini? It will be Cristiano for the mechanism. And Ake, they have no idea he's here. Hook shot comes in, though. It's going to catch all the way back onto Baisadro. And the Sword will find that kill. The teleportations were not fast enough. In fact, the closest one ended up taking the longest. So they're not able to get a return kill off on that. And Luccini will put themselves one up on the board. So quite happy to take this one. Atsushi, though, dropping pretty low to 1 Dragon Slave. And up here in the top, it's going to be a cause force him back. The shallow grave keeps him alive. And that's Laguna wasted. The Dragon Slave, maybe get a bit of vengeance on Dazzle, but the Light Trick Array does miss. A couple of stray auto attacks will secure the kill, but in comes Aestrud, the big bad Shadow Fiend, looking to avenge his purple buddy. A couple of raises. They have the Light Trick Array, but it's not going to be enough. End's in a lot of trouble now, and Requiem unleashes, and it'll go down. There is going to be a supernova, and it will bring down the sword. Double kill action. Oh, no. Cristiano goes down right at the edge. The Fire Spirits was enough. The damage tick will bring him out of the fight. So a double kill for Karuba. Turning what was a pretty decent fight in favor of Luccini now pretty well in favor of Sad Voids. And you can tell by the graph all over the place, but finally going back in Sad Voids' favor once again for the second time. And experience, or the third time, yeah. 1, 2, 3, I can count. And the third time for net worth, yeah. Feels like the third time.
Radiant's mid tower's getting banged up.
And it's very hard to count with those graphs. I'm sorry. I'm off the ball right now. So N will consistently push out this top lane. Again with the mech, will keep his creeps very healthy. Ring of Akala as well. There's so much armor being spread between these creeps. They're taking quite a bit from the tower and living to tell the tale. So he should be able to push down this tower very quickly. Eliadel, he's got the Akala as well, but his Shadow Fiend went for the mech. So as far as his item build goes, potentially the Sanjin Yasha will be the direction for him. I've seen a multitude of different items be good on him though. Light Stricker in the mid lane won't hit on Cristiano, and a couple of raises. So for good measure on the creeps, get those value last hits. He's got 28 Necromastery, so not yet recovered from his death by the Ancients, but he'll have that with a couple of creep camps. And in fact, it looks like he's going to find himself a double damage rune down here in the bottom, which will help him not only farm, but if he finds someone, that's a hell of a lot of damage going his way. He's already hitting for about 140. After, he'll be hitting for 200 plus. So it looks like the pings come out. They might want to take a move on to end.
Dire's mid tower won't
as the double damage gets popped solely to try to bring down this tower. Lysadro's hanging in the wings though, maybe looking for a Fissure. Do they have any teleport rotations to bring him down? The Fissure will not block him off, so he is going to get away from this one. Very healthy indeed. So actually he walks back up. Ake's hanging in close, looking for the Janata. Not going to find it. And he'll get himself away. The sword, meanwhile, doing what he can to defend this tower, but N is just laying into it. Oh, wait, no, the hook shot under tower, the relocate as well, and he's in a lot of trouble. Everyone comes. Oh, man, they threw everything but the kitchen sink at him, and then they ripped the kitchen sink from the wall and threw it at him for good measure. That is one dead Viper. It looks like he did get the tower, though, so I guess not
Dire's
all
top
bad,
tower,
but
you know the drill.
still a bit overkill. They've got the relocate on cooldown now for 60 seconds. Eliadel hanging in the trees. They know that there's some measure of rotation coming in to slow them down, but it will be fruitless. Meanwhile, Lysadro getting spotted out what looked to be a rocket flare. But another rotation, this time N going in for the bottom lane. Oh no, a Yule Scepter revealed by Scully. They're trying to bring him out. Eliadel is keeping him full and alive. Lysadro now is in a lot of trouble. They're rotating in Bounty Hunter. Ake comes in, but the Earthshaker does end up dying. Ake goes, turns himself around, now looking for a kill. It looks like they're going to try to get it onto Io. They will get it, and that's a track to go their way. The sword, though, he doesn't want to say that's it. He's got Hook up and running, but he's not going to spend it, at least not yet. They have full vision of him if he does, too, so
couldn't hang on to that mid
it
tower.
probably wouldn't be smart. Oh, wait, no, he's searching. He wants it. They're ready. Eliadel, meanwhile, in the jungle. Ake is being a bit of a pest. Look at this ward vision. Oh, man, they've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wards all throughout the map. This vision is absolutely insane now. Some of them will be expiring soon, but
at Radiant's bottom tower.
that's called keeping your eye on the ball, I guess. Quite literally.
Radiant's bottom tower.
And they do have the tower advantage. No, they don't. Only one tower down for each side. They'll have it now, which I guess is a little bit of a bonus for them, too. But It looks
Trouble
like
brewing at Radiant's
Cristiano is
bottom.
trying to
Radiant
even
lost
out the
one of
score.
their bottom
We've got
towers.
Karuba rotating in. He isn't able to cancel his, or he doesn't cancel his Licorice dive, which means killing is going to be pretty impossible, and rotates in as well. But that's after the tower goes down the bottom lane. Meanwhile, the sword will find Scully, and a bit of a important kill there by Sadro. Might be next, but they don't have any idea he's there, at least not yet. And he'll just wait in the wings right now, looking for some support to come into this one. Drops down a sentry, hoping to find a ward of Sadvoid's or of
Dyer's
Luccini's,
mid-tower's
but
having
not
technical
able to get it.
difficulties.
The only Luccini ward on the map is this one over by the Roche Pit. Pretty common ward, but at the same time a very, very effective one. If you take a look at all this vision it gives, in fact, look at the vision. Like, the only thing it doesn't give is the Roche Pit, which is very important for them. So a great ward for them to have. Meanwhile, Cristiano with a hasting. Who's he going to find? Ake? No, doesn't have any vision. I think he's got an idea, hence the little bit of a turn there, but still not able to find any kills means it's not worth sticking around right now. He's going to find a nice kind of pseudo-ancient stack here. Starts to take it, but then backs himself off. Ake hanging in close, but Cristiano
Radiant's
just wants a
bottom
couple more
tower ain't
creeps.
a pretty sight right now.
And there's no one really in to follow up for a bounty hunter. At least not yet, so Cristiano will be very safe for the time being. Meanwhile, Ed is going to start laying into the tier 2 towers now. He's all the way in the top lane and starts out doing a not so great amount of damage. But remember, that starts stacking up as time goes on. So they can't just let him hit this tower for a minute or two, because it's just going to die.
Radiant's top tower's taking hits. Radiant structures must have been fortified.
It looks like another attempt to trade, but it's going to be a tier 1 for a tier 2. I mean, look at the damage already done to this tower. In fact, actually, it's not all that much, but still pretty sizable in the grand scheme of things.
Guess what's happening to
En's
Dyer's
actually
bottom
not backed
tower?
out just yet. There's
No
only one
breaking through
teleport
the Dyer's
to stop him
structures
from doing
for
this, but
now.
now they all go in. In fact, it's going to be Sadvoids that want to start doing the defense now. Defending a tier 1 tower, but it's well worth it right now. They got some chip on the tier 2. Karuba is chasing Cristiano, has full vision of him. He'll pop the mech, but it doesn't really help out all that much. A Sunray goes out. He starts popping the Rec Room, but will back himself out. Now a relocate goes through. If he starts channeling it, does it end up connecting once it goes? No, he's not going to go for it. In fact, it's just going to be Io going to his doom. He'll go for the tether, gets himself away, and the shallow grave, he's alive. But will the shallow grave last long enough? The fire spirits, no. He will end up going down. Pops with the fury of 1,000 suns. Cristiano will go in, unleash the Requiem, and pretty much one-shot N, who will stay alive for the time being. He's actually still alive by Sadro, looking for more, but it's going to be Eliadel to bring him down. Eliadel still standing as Scully goes down as well. And Eliadel just taking through all of it, only to come out alive and kicking. What a fight for Luccini. Only lose their Io to bring down 3 of the Sad Voids, and with it, a 1,300 gold boost to their bank accounts, 2,200 experience, pretty much enough to bring one of them from level 11 to level 12. So lots of attrition going their way in that one fight alone. Definitely going to be happy about taking that one. And the Sad Voids, they got to be very careful about this. They can't, like, I guess the best way to put it would to be, if you're going to try and you're going to put all that onto one person, you better be damn sure you can bring him down. Because not bringing him down results in shit like that. Eliadel's still standing with the mech with his own pretty decent regeneration. He's right back up. Not to mention, getting damage on him in the first place is going to be very difficult with the 10 armor he's got right now, plus the unstable current, keeping you from being able to cast anything on him. Meanwhile, as a hook shot comes through, doesn't connect, and could be going anything from, you know, it could be a Santanyasha straight up. I mean, he could be just deciding he wants to build into a BKB right now, or he could be building into an Aghanim Scepter. He can go 3 separate items with this one Ogre Club. And that is a sign of a value item right there. Meanwhile, okay, he's going to find the sword. They'll use him up with the Light Strike Array coming down. He's got the Blade Mail, but it doesn't quite matter. They're not going to commit everything to him. In fact, Cristiano goes in and will find the kill. But now Cristiano, with that BKB, doesn't really care. Fight's happening on dual echelon. It's going to be Eliadel running away, but ends the one in trouble. And he'll end up going down, trying to man-fight as best as he can, but the Shallow Grave keeping the IO alive. And Fire Spirit off the mark means the IO, well, he'll stay alive. A 2-for-1 as it ends up being. They do end up bringing down the Clockwork, as N had committed so much to doing so, but paid for it with his life. And that's not exactly a trade that you want to be giving up right now, especially if you're Sad Void. So Luccini, with a huge amount of rallying points in their favor, now they're starting to take a massive command of this game. And by massive, I mean 2,500 net worth, about 5,000 experience. Nothing too big in the grand scheme of things, but still enough to carry you through the next couple of fights if you play them correctly. So now they're putting a lot of emphasis on bringing down a couple of towers, the bottom and the top. Still standing. A relocate coming in. Scully could be in a lot of trouble. The Yule's up, but he is not going to survive this one. He's actually going to pop out the Laguna Blade onto Kamuzi, but that's going to be about it for his resistance. But now N comes in. The immediate teleport. Oh. That's a relocate out. Yeah, that was a relocate back out. The timer had ended. Kamuzi's in a little bit of trouble, though. They're trying to Sunray to bring him down, but doesn't do quite enough damage. And now Ake's in a lot of trouble. Cristiano, with the huge right clicks, will just bully him to pieces. And there's a chase now on to N. Things are falling apart at the seams right now for Sad Voids as Luccini are just running them down one by one. N will get away from this one. He's a bit too fast for the Mechanic Mastermind, but the Cogs will drain a little bit of mana from him. And Karuba now looking for the chase as, oh, we have a bit of a pause now coming out. Some lag from both teams. So I'll take this time. If you guys are here looking for the English stream, well, you're in the right place, but the Spanish streams are in a multitude of different locations. I know hitbox.tv/live-dota is the default stream for Spanish, but if I think there's another one up, it's Impetus TV, hitbox.tv/Impetus TV, IMPETUS TV. That's streaming in another language as well. So if you're here, you don't quite speak English, you probably didn't understand what I said. If you do speak English but don't want to listen to English, well then check out that location. You can also probably go to the Gosu page for this game if they have it on, and check the streams there. If not, if this game isn't on, I know there have been games hosted on Gosu Gamers. You can look at the historic matches and probably find the streams there. So just a little bit of direction for you guys if you're not quite a fan of the English language. I don't really feel like listening to them. For those of you who are here right now, though, Mr. Afro Style, Aldiotheus, Cookie Steam, Davy Tots, Drazcor, Elben Jamunos, El Chibolo, Fry Wilhelm Nietz, Fulbert, Joseph Master, Kevin Caceres, Lord Neos, Pankon, Ka, XD, Poyuman, Roberto 11, Rugalt, and Silent Crow. You're here with me right now, or at least you were 5 minutes ago. Thank you for joining us here. I'm happy to have you on. For those of you who aren't listed there, I know there are plenty of people watching this one. For the non-listeds, thank you for joining me as well. And for those of you watching in-game, if you decided to watch this one on the ticket, well, first of all, thank you for acquiring the ticket. And second, well, I'm glad to have you here. Glad to have you on the cast, and looking forward to the rest of this game. 22 minutes in, 18-10. And I'm not quite sure what this recap was for. Bounty Hunter dying. But we can take a quick look at the graphs right now to give us back on track for this game. And Luccini grabbing a huge amount of advantage. They're now 5,000 plus in net worth, 7,500 in experience. And as I said earlier, after that first fight that they won that swung it a little their way, they have plenty to carry them through the next couple of fights. And as long as they don't, quote-unquote, throw it, they should be in a very good position. Now, the only issue I see is Sad Voids have a draft that can really punish one bad fight. Though they don't really have anyone to super carry them against against both a Razor and a Shadow Fiend. Winning one fight is all it's going to take for them to continue to push, maybe get a couple of towers, solidify their advantage, and then if they get 1 or 2 items up, on Luccini, then they're in a very good spot. So, but that's count your chickens before they hatch right now. As they've still got a pretty large mountain to climb before they can start digging into this lead that Luccini have now built themselves. And
Radiant's mid tower's getting banged up.
right now, Luccini is content to just sit back and farm. I mean, they're in no trouble right now. They still have a tier 2 tower up. And Sad Void's last tier 1, or a tier 1 tower up, and Sad Void's last tier 1 is about to hit dust. So lots of things just not going Sad Void's way right now. But the next fight could end up being one of the last two that they ever take. Eliadel staring him down, throwing out the plasma field, but nothing really coming out of it. And they'll just back off right now. They don't want to take a fight. They don't want to push anything right now. And rightfully so. They need some sort of a pickoff. They need some sort of awkward fight that they can take, that they can either get tracks one by one and bring them down and in suit, or get a couple of pickoff tracks and get some gold that way. Like, taking a 5-on-5 would not be something that they'd want to do in the near future. So right now, very slow, very calculated. Neither team wants to do anything stupid. But it's going to be Atsushi scouting out the entirety of Sad Voids, keeping tabs on their location, while Eliadel pushes out top. He's got his Agnum Scepter up with 2,900 gold. His next item could be anything. It could be the Refresher, it could be Sanjin Yasha, it could be Scotty, it could be... I guess the point is he could be going utility, or he could be going stats and the damage. And either way, he's got so much advantage right now that he can do whatever he wants, save doing something really trolly and stupid. Scully, though, is going to go searching for Atsushi, but it's going to be the sword to back him up. Cristiano is close by as well. Scully might actually be the one in trouble. They hook through the trees, and they find him. The Yule Scepter up, but it's not going to mean too much. Even with the Light Strike Array, the BKB comes out from Cristiano, and he'll immediately pop by Sadra with it. The Supernova almost kills the sword, but the mechanism, perfectly timed, will keep the sword alive. And just like that, it's just a straight-up wipe. And pretty much no time at all. Luccini just melt the lineup of Sad Voids, and their journey to winning this, or at least making it to the finals, gets one step closer. As they start laying into this tier 2 tower, the glyph gets spent, so it's not up for when they want to take up the next couple. And I don't know if they push high ground here. They could back up, either go for Roche or go for another tier 2 tower. And just play it safe, continue to farm, but... Sad Voids, now if they were in a bad position a couple minutes ago, now they're in a very bad position. Fighting into this is going to be so difficult now.
Radiant's bottom tower.
We can look at just the item discrepancies out right now. The Sanjin Yasha now from Cristiano with a mech and a BKB. You've got the Aghanim Scepter drums, still a huge amount of gold on Eliadel. Atsushi even has his Tranquil boost. Cristiano, I mean, look at this. Scully doesn't have an Aghanim Scepter. Only level 2 ultimate. His ulti barely even tickled Cristiano. And now they can start to turn around and go for some more here. Tamuzi in a little bit of trouble, but he'll back himself away with the tether. And now Karuba is trapped in a very bad spot. They put the Light Strike Array to get him out of the trees. But the hook shot comes in. Lysadro's in some trouble. The sword will force staff himself away. He's taking a lot of damage, but he won't end up dying here. Scully now on the run. He'll stay alive for the time being. A relocate comes in, drags Cristiano with him. And now they try to find Scully. The Light Strike Array will connect and will keep Scully alive for the time being. And the Shuriken toss going through, but it reveals Ake. In fact, actually, it pulls Cristiano back out. The Supernova's up. They can't bring it down. The sword will go down here, and so will Kamuzi if he's not careful. There's a track out on him. He just goes down. Karuba finds it with the Requiem of Souls. Gimping ends damage. They can still turn on Cristiano, though, with no Requiem. He only has a couple of raises. We'll spend one on Karuba. Now they've got the Yule Scepter up, the Light Strike Array. They'll bring him down, and these are all track kills. Remember what I was talking about not too long ago? Well, this is exactly it. The one by one, get tracks on all of them, and get a huge amount of gold. And we can take a look at just how much that is. 2,000 going the way of Sad Voids from that. That's only... Okay. That is only counting the Shadow Fiend's death. 2,000 gold from the Shadow Fiends alone. I'd hate to see what it looks like on the total graph, but you know what? We'll take a look anyway. They had about a 12,000 lead, and now it's closer to 8,000. So a 4,000 gold swing out of that one fight alone. That is absolutely huge. 20%. No, more than that. It was a 10,000 lead, 12,000 lead, so a third, 33% of their advantage gone in an instant. Flick of the wrist, snap of the fingers. That is not something that you want. Now, they still have the advantage. They're still pretty comfortable in this game. But fights like that put a lot of hope, a lot of momentum on the side of Sad Voids, and it just means that they're not out of it yet. They are far from out of it. There is still plenty of game left to play, and Sad Voids are here to play it. They do not want out of this tournament. Neither team does. I mean, okay, I guess it's obvious who would want to be out of this tournament. They're both going to be fighting for their lives, but the moral of the story is Sad Voids came to win. And they're going to do everything in their power to do so. Luccini giving themselves a lot of wiggle room, but still not out of the woods just yet. Have plenty of game left to play. Cristiano will continue to farm up. Some experience being sapped by K, but I don't think Cristiano is able to do anything about this bounty hunter, as he's got no idea where he is. Might get some vision with the tower here. But this bounty is putting up wards, getting everything really aggressive, making sure that they have the tools they need to take really, really good fights. And Cristiano's alone in this jungle. Like, if they could rotate one or two people down, maybe smoke up and run straight at him, they may be able to just bring him down. The one thing they've got to be careful of is that Io is ready for the relocate. He's sitting close by Eliadel, ready to bring him in if things get a little hairy, and maybe we start to see things get hairy right now as the track comes out onto Cristiano. They slow him up with the Janata. Everyone's running at him, but they have full ward vision of this. They know exactly what's going on. The Requiem will charge. It will unleash. Not doing that much damage, but it doesn't need to because the relocate comes in. There's going to be an Echo Slam, and Kamuzi will go down for this, but the Supernova gets taken out of the fray. And now he's going to have to TP himself away. We'll pop the BKB to do so, but he can't do it. Too much damage coming out, and Eliadel picks up the godlike spree, but it's a 2-for-1. And that, well, there's your green light for Roshan. So, plenty of advantage going their way back again. Even though Sad Void's coming off of that really good fight, they couldn't quite make that pickoff happen. And again, this ward spotting out a lot of what they needed to know. Now they've got another one up here on the high ground. The Fisher comes through. We'll stun this for a little bit, but it won't stop the Roshan attempt. There's no real way for them to stop it either. No way to steal the Aegis either. So they'll give the Aegis, they'll give the Roshan to Luccini, and now they're going to have to fight against a double Razor. One's hard enough. Two is damn near impossible. Eliadel as well, with that Aghanim Scepter, will just be able to burst anyone down in no time at all. Now, I do believe that Eye of the Storm no longer persists through Aegis. I think they changed that after the patch, after the TI4 absolute dominance that Razor had, but still, that's not exactly what Razor's drafted to do. He's drafted to just be the tanky damage dealer that you need him. The ultimate is just icing on the cake, and if he can get the full duration off, that's great. But I think if he doesn't hold it until his second life, I honestly don't think they'll be able to bring him down for one life. I honestly think that maybe it would have been better on Cristiano. Give the second life to someone who may actually die in these fights. But regardless, the sword hanging in close. They've got the IO as well. But they're going to end up going on the Clockwork. Now, he does have BKB, so he'll be able to do a little bit of return damage. And that's if they bring him down. The Sunray will do so. And now they're looking for the out here, but Kamuzi will be canceled. They've got the Yule Scepter, so they'll bring down two. And I think that was a double track as well, so they get a fair amount of gold bounty off of that one. And you can see a huge... Every single time you see a fight being won this far from behind with track gold on top of it, it's so much gold. Eliadel, though, finds his way in, but, I mean, that's a TP out from Karuba. So right now, Luccini are playing Sans 2, but Sad Voids can't really do much about it. Remember, they still have this Aegis on a Lyodel. There's a Scotty on him. There's just so much invested into this Razor. 4,000 gold on top of what he already has. If he goes anything like a Heart or Assault Cuirass, bringing him down didn't just become damn near impossible. It became very impossible. If there, I guess, degrees of impossibility is kind of redundant, but I mean, he can just walk right at anyone, and he doesn't really care, so long as he's got 1 or 2 heroes for backup. And you can see, he's showing his fury by sitting up by this tower. Already, he's got his ultimate, hitting up on the tower. He's going to go ahead. That's an Icarus dive spent. He doesn't continue the chase, though. There is a Light Striker right just to slow him down a bit. If he did, this tower, it just goes down here. Like, they don't have any real way to deal with it, at least not yet. The hook shot, it does connect to the skull. It pushes him back. They've got the static link. It looks like they popped it out. No, 7 seconds on cooldown. There's going to be an Echo Slam, though, but Cristiano is just laying into everyone. The Supernova goes down. Even though Camusi did fall, that's about it for who dies on the Luccini, as Scully will go down as well, making it a 2-for-1. And the tower, well, that's, even though it breathed a sigh of relief real quickly right then and there, it still will be turned on. It will go down.
One last top tower.
And Luccini just barreling down right now in the top lane. No, not a care in the world. 4 seconds for his ultimate to be back up. And once Eye of the Storm is back up, they can just eye that tier 3 tower. Look at the damage on Ake. One more raise would have been the death of him. In fact, they got him with the flare. And that is a very, very dead bounty hunter. Meanwhile, SVN's in a little bit of trouble. The official will block him off. But the Force Staff through the rocks, not going to mean he's going to continue chasing, as the top racks do end up falling. This could very well be it for the Sad Voids. This is only game number 1, so they still have another opportunity to bring this one within reach. But they're going to have to gruel it through to a game number 3, and then they got to win the game number 3 to do so. So after this point, Luccini, fairly comfortable. They've got multiple chances of winning this one, multiple opportunities. And they're in no trouble at all. There's going to be Aegis being popped. Cristiano popped the BKB, and by Sadro just not doing anything right now. The sword ends up dropping, finally, 583 gold from that kill alone. And with the Viper Strike on Lyodel, look at the damage onto Scully. They're going to continue chasing. N is dropping very low as well, and that's the GG finally being called out as the Supernova gets popped, and it will go down as well. And just as the Supernova pops, so too must the Ancient, like brother, like sister. So guys, we've been watching this game number 1 of Luccini versus Sad Voids. Game number 2 will be coming up shortly, so stick around. Chicago Ted has been your host at TedCast on Twitter. So